Hey guys, what's going on? This is Ralph Cornett with Screen Rant.
And I'm Eric Eisenberg from Cinema Blend.
We're going to break down the Green Lantern panel for you, everything that we saw today here at WonderCon.
Yep. And so I guess first we'll talk about the footage a bit.
Yes, looked good.
It really did. The CGI, especially compared to the trailer that we saw last year, the CGI has definitely improved a lot in that time.
And as you know, Warner Brothers did make an apology for that trailer a little bit recently, and I think they were setting us up to let us know that we were going to see something better. This was for the fans. The fans definitely were jazzed about it.
Oh, for sure.
They were on board. Yeah. I'm very excited.
And I will say that one thing that does still give me a bit of qualm is
Qualms.
Qualms.
Qualm.
Yeah. Qualm. That's going to be weird. Is the mask? I still think kind of looks a bit funky, but I mean they'll obviously figure it out. And as long as Hal Jordan's spending enough time on Oa, then he won't need to wear the mask. Therefore, we don't need to worry about it. But
Well, yeah, it was a little distracting. The body of the suit, though, looks a lot better than what we had originally seen. It looks like it's a real body, for one thing. It looks like it fits his head.
Yeah. And actually, I think a big part of it is that the color is actually a lot darker.
It is.
So, especially compared to the Entertainment Weekly cover that came out last summer, which was just not fantastic. But I guess now we should talk about exactly what we saw.
What did we see? Open on.
Open on. The spaceship of Abin Sur. So this is going to be from the close to the very beginning of the story. Probably not going to be because we're probably going to be introduced to human Hal Jordan beforehand.
Yeah, I would think there would be a fair amount of that set up actually before we.
So we see Abin Sur in a spaceship. He uses his ring to project an image of Sinestro, played by Mark Strong. It should be mentioned that Abin Sur is being played by Tamara Morrison, and Sinestro tells him that that Abin Sur should cancel his mission because whatever has been wiping out planets has already killed everything on where he's headed, so he should abort. But then
it continues on.
Yes, and it turns out that there's a whisper in the distance.
Yeah.
And,
well, it's not really. It's more. It's kind of like an everywhere. It's an omnipresent whisper.
And it turns out that Parallax, who is in the comics the embodiment of fear, as it would be, that goes around basically destroying civilizations, is on Abin Sur's ship, attacks him, and Abin Sur is able to get into an escape pod and escape with serious injuries for sure, but technically his life.
And who does he come upon on the planet Earth but of course, our Hal Jordan, who he gives instructions to take the ring with the lantern, say the oath, and of course we'll talk about this and what Ryan Reynolds had to say about the comedy in the film, but there was a sort of comedic moment where he's sitting with it and going, yeah, because everybody knows the Earth. Right. And he basically does the Pledge of Allegiance.
He says something along the lines of, I pledge allegiance to the lantern that some purple alien just gave me.
Purple alien gave me. And then, of course, he connects in and his eyes turn green and he says the real oath.
Absolutely. And so then...
That takes us to...
And then, smash cut, we have Hal, not in costume just yet, flying through space with his lantern leading the way through a wormhole, passes a couple astronauts who look a bit confused, but flying and making his way to the planet Oa, where he meets Tamar Ray, who is, as we also recently learned,
Jeffrey Rush.
And
he sounds great. It sounds great.
Exactly. Yeah. And actually, I think a big part of it is the fact that he's kind of like Tamar Ray is almost kind of like Jeffrey Rush's character from A King's Speech. In the sense that he's kind of showing him the ropes, and he's kind of this instructor type character. So it kind of fits, and it's a funny moment. And there's like a little bit of comedy in the sense that Hal Jordan does make note of his fish-like appearance, and it's
very self-aware and self-reflexive in that way.
It's something that a normal person would say, seeing an alien that looks like Tamar Ray, which admittedly is a bit weird, and so it's not meant to be played for humor. It's meant to be played for holy shit, this is happening right now.
So that's the kind of the tone of the piece, or kind of the tone of the footage that we saw was, and Ryan Reynolds in the panel, and I'm going to look at my notes because I'm going to make sure that we get everything in here, but Ryan Reynolds did say that this character is not a comedian, and he's not meant to be a comedian, and he sort of made that point. However, he's a very, very funny guy.
The guy is basically human charisma, so
and so I think it's really difficult for him not to bring that element into whatever he's doing. And so certainly there were a lot of comedic moments, but there also were there were some, I wouldn't call them solemn, but you felt the weight of the situation.
Oh, absolutely.
You felt the weight of the responsibility that they all had.
I mean, perfect example is when Hal Jordan finds Abin Sur on the beach. It's a serious moment. I mean, he seems to really want to help Abin Sur, who is obviously dying.
Yeah.
And so it's a very serious moment, and so you get the sense that it's not just going to be Ryan Reynolds hamming it up.
No, not at all. And I think that what they really wanted to do with this footage was, again, show the fans that they were there to kind of honor the world and honor these characters, and that it was for the fans. I did notice this. Blake Lively was not in any of the footage, except stands for a really quick montage right there at the very end.
Right.
They just didn't show her at all. They weren't dealing with that. They were strictly dealing with his introduction to this world.
Right. And it's I mean, Peter Sarsgaard in that same measure wasn't really shown except for the montage either. So it's not necessarily a reflection of anything. It just happens to be the stuff that they wanted to show the fans of WonderCon.
All in, I think that this, and everybody was sort of talking about this afterwards, this is going to be the thing that turns it around. This movie's going to start to get some positive buzz. Absolutely. At this point. They've made the corrections that they needed to make, other than
the mask.
The mask, which is weird. And Ryan Reynolds also talked about that he was like, this isn't a typical superhero costume.
Right.
This is made of energy, and so how are you really going to depict that outside of the world of CGI? You can't. So unless you're just going to make it something that is not, ultimately. He did also talk a very little bit about Deadpool, which he had some funny things to say.
He did. Obviously, I mean, we all know, and we've been discussing this at length. It's just Ryan Reynolds is the perfect person to play Deadpool. He has the same smarm. He's the same kind of jackass. And he had this great moment where a fan in the audience asked him if, after playing a villain like Deadpool, it was kind of different on the other side to play a hero like Green Lantern. And his response was, "Deadpool's not a villain. He's just an asshole," which was a very funny moment, and frankly, it spoke to his knowledge of the character, which he obviously has, and he obviously has a passion for the project. He did say that he doesn't know exactly when it's going to happen.
No.
But on that same.
But he did say this. He stressed he definitely stressed that he, quote, there were things he would have done differently in the last movie, but he's not in charge of those things, and he's not the money man behind those things.
Right.
But that if they do it again, if they do a Deadpool movie, they're going to do it right. It's going to be a hard R.
Hard R. That was a big thing that he said. And he's been stressing a lot. Yeah. And and the script kind of necessitates it. So, I mean, that makes...
He also did say he hasn't been approached about a Justice League movie.
Yes. But Jeff Johns, once again, as was reported last week, Jeff Johns did say that one is in the works, but whether that, Zack Snyder said that his Superman movie won't be a part of it. Yeah. Christopher Nolan's Batman won't be a part of it. So is it possible that Green Lantern is just going to be something else, and then they're just going to collect a whole new cast for Justice League? At this point, we have absolutely no idea.
But frankly, these people disconnecting the current movies from any Justice League movies gives us some kind of indication that that's exactly what they're going to do. But we don't know. That's speculation.
And it's also the possibility that we might end up seeing more Iron Man than Iron Man 2, which has its own benefits.
Yes, absolutely, which we would hope for.
Yeah.
So also Blake Lively was there, and she was lovely and very, very charming and very good looking. She did talk a little bit about the Star Sapphire costume. She said that a few different times she said she'd want a little bit more than just scraps of clothing on.
Right.
They did say that if they continued on, that she felt pretty confident that she would be a part, if the movies continued on, she would be a part of that.
But that there is no guarantee. So, it's not a huge scoop, but she did have a lot of enthusiasm.
Yes.
She did seem like she's very interested in exploring that aspect of the character.
Yeah.
So.
And she was very committed to satisfying the fans with this
very
movie.
Much so.
She talked about she had a bodyguard on Gossip Girl who she said was this really gruff guy and said very little.
Never spoke more than 2 words.
Exactly. No. But then when she got cast in this movie, suddenly he started gushing. Oh, you have to have the brown hair. You have to have, and not just for me, for your own safety.
For your own safety, because as a bodyguard, and also he's the bodyguard. He doesn't want that kind of of responsibility.
Yeah.
He doesn't want comic fans bashing down
doors and things like that.
Yeah.
So she certainly did that. She had a sense of responsibility. She was given an original comic.
She gave the first issue that contained the character of Star Sapphire, which
yes.
she tried, which
she
was
tried
apparently
to open.
framed, and she tried to open, but they told her you probably shouldn't do that, which is kind of understandable from a comic book fan standpoint.
Yeah.
But yeah. So,
all right. Yeah.
Just so I guess we'll complete it with just our final reactions to what we saw today.
You know, I was very pleased with what we saw, and I thought that it looked good. There were a couple of tiny little CGI. I think that's just going to continue to be there in the movie, but it's something that you'll eventually let go of.
Sure.
It looked like this is going to be not a dark movie. It's certainly not going to be a Dark Knight, and I don't think that they would call it that. It would probably be more of an Iron Man in tone, where
sure.
it has serious elements and some weight to it. But
it doesn't take itself too seriously.
It doesn't take itself too seriously. If you hire somebody that's got so much natural charm and humor, he can't help but be a funny person.
Absolutely.
It's going to be in the character. He also did say that he thought Bradley Cooper would be a good Flash.
That's important to note. Yes. And just my thoughts, like I said earlier, I'm very much impressed with how far the CGI has gone since the trailer. And frankly, I expected it. When the trailer first launched, my initial reaction was, well, they have 7 months to get this right, and they better get it done. And with the exception of the mask, I think they really did. And they still have until, I guess, was it June 17th?
Yes.
To get it right.
To go even further.
And so hopefully they're still at work. They were very much stressing that, and I think that as long as they keep it up, we could be in for a real treat this summer.
Yeah, all in, we say it's okay to start getting excited about Green Lantern.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
have a good
guys.
one.